Do you want an update on how that Udemy course is doing? I know it's kind of weird. People don't talk about money. But I like sharing this with you so that, as students, you could be like, oh, hey, if I learn something and then make a training, I could help pay for rent. So if it's too weird for you, raise your hand.
No, I want to know.
And if you do want to know, raise your hand.
If I can do this instead of getting a job next semester?
Yeah, totally. Just make trainings, right? And if you're watching this video online, just close your eyes for the next 10, 30 seconds. I'll tell you when you can open it again if you don't want to see it, all right? But here we go, man. $4,661. 749 students. I've earned $252 this month. And last month, four something, whatever, 4,200, 4,400. That's pretty awesome. Just helping people out, right? And also helping me pay the bills. That's teaching. That's the age-old tradition. I have 4 unanswered discussions. Oops, working now. My fault. Glad it's working. And to keep your teacher ratings high and have your courses show up in their links, their ratings, you have to respond to everybody's posts. This is all John England. He's finally got it working. For some reason, he clicked the button 3 times. There we go. And now if I went back and looked, it'd be there. So, pretty sweet. So we're setting up a remote box. And this would be a good point. I forgot to show this in the last video. We just went through all of these steps right here. GitHub goes to 11 Golang training, and then 67. And so if you come to GitHub, goes to 11 Golang training, come down to DigitalOcean 67, then right here are all the steps we're going through. And we're setting up a Linux box in the cloud. And we just went through all of this in a previous video. And so basically, who could describe what we did in that previous video in your words? Or maybe 4 words.
Set up SSH.
Set up Ubuntu user account, right? That's what we did in the last one. We logged in as sudo, create a new user, change permissions. Can no longer get in with sudo. You can only get in with one user, Todd. And we did that because Todd does not have root access to everything in the computer. We did give Todd the ability to do sudo access. And so we're going to, work with that a little bit more. And we also did SSH so we could log into our remote server without a password, right? It uses SSH to a secure shell to get in. So that was the last video. And so now what we're going to do is set up a firewall, synchronize the system clock, create a swap space, and then make a snapshot of our server, right? But so that's the next step. I guess we'll make a snapshot at this end. So now we're going to set up a firewall. So I need to get into my account, and I'm in as root right now, so I could exit. And now I'm just exit. There we go. I'm out. Right? But now I could connect. How do I connect? SSH what? Todd at 45, 55, 28, 153. My IP address. Where did I get that IP address? Right here. It's the server I set up on DigitalOcean. Connect. So now I'm connected. Todd at FCC class example. So my next step is change the firewall. We've got sudo UFW allow SSH. So UFW is a Unix firewall. And I have to enter my password, 123. It says the rules have been updated. And allow SSH. I could have also done allow 22 TCP. So SSH goes in on TCP port 22. But I could just put in SSH and it knows, okay, I'm allowing something to come through port 22 TCP, right? And I'm thinking that I said something wrong, that UFW is Unix firewall, UFW Unix Ubuntu. let's see what it says. UFW, Ubuntu Wiki, uncomplicated firewall. It's uncomplicated firewall, not Unix. It's uncomplicated firewall because it's pretty straightforward firewall. And so now if we do sudo UFW show added, right? Added user rules, uncomplicated firewall allow 22. And we could do a sudo UFW enable to enable the firewall. Command may disrupt existing SSH connections. Proceed with operation. How would this command, if I enable this firewall, how could it potentially mess up my existing SSH connections? I'm about to turn on a firewall.
The other ones aren't being firewalled.
Dude, if I had not set allow SSH, meaning SSH could come through on port 22 when it's TCP, and I enable the firewall, I just bricked my computer. Like, it's a brick I can't get into. All right, it's behind a brick wall. You know? So I have to make sure that, okay, that opening's been enabled on the firewall because I'm going to turn it on, and if that hole's not there for my traffic to go through, a wall just went up. All right, so I'm going to turn it on. And firewall is active and enabled on system startup, and I didn't get kicked out. So it's enabled on system startup too. So now I could do sudo uncomplicated firewall status. And it shows me from anywhere we're allowing a connection to port 22. And also with IPv6. Okay, so IPv6. Is the most recent version of Internet Protocol, the communication protocol that provides an identification and location system for computers on networks and routes traffic across the Internet. IPv6 was developed by this and is intended to replace IPv4. Is the fourth version of the Internet Protocol. I don't know what happened to IPv5. They just went straight to 6. And this version was deployed in production for ARPANET in 1983. It still routes most of the internet traffic today. So, all right, so we did all that, and now we need to synchronize the system clock. And sudo dpackage reconfigure time zone data. And I don't know if we could do, what is it, time? Now? TZ data. I forget, how do you see the system clock? I wish I'd put that in here. Anyhow, let's just do this. Sudo dpkg. Let me see. C time Unix.
I think it's time or date.
Date. That's it. Date. So my time is 1940. Is that right? Eastern Standard Time, right? I want Pacific time on my server. So I could come in here and I could do sudo dpkg reconfigure tz data, time zone data. And it launches this menu. I want America, Los Angeles. And now if I do date, sweet, Pacific Standard Time. And I need to install NTP. What is NTP? Network Time Protocol, NTPD, Network Time Protocol, daemon, Network Time Protocol. I'm sure that's what I'm thinking. If you have not used apt-get yet, run sudo apt-get update. So sudo apt-get update. So it's updating. What is apt-get? Advanced packaging tool is free software user interface that works with core libraries to handle installation and removal of software on the Debian Linux distribution and its variants. So this is the package tool for Linux.
Or Debian.
Debian Linux distribution.
Ubuntu is a child of Debian.
Yeah, Ubuntu is a child of Debian.
This is like one of the first things you have to learn how to use when you like install Ubuntu, honestly, is the apps.
Yeah. So is Debian Linus's girlfriend or wife?
I don't know.
If their child was Ubuntu? I'm joking. So, sorry, bad humor. We have fetched, reading package list done. So we just did the update of that, and now apt-get's package manager for Debian, Unix, and above. And now we're going to get sudo apt-get install ntp, which is the time package. And so we just installed all that. Do you want to continue? Yes. And we'll automatically place enable run on boot. So it's going to, I guess, run the right time when it boots. Now we're going to create a swap space. So swap space is just kind of a good idea, according to Daniel, and I think so too. But what do they call this? The name I used to know it is a disk cache, I think. Disk buffer. Small amount of RAM embedded on a hard disk drive used to store the data going to and coming from the disk platters. That's not quite what I'm thinking of. What's that place called when you run out of RAM? That
Virtual memory.
Swap file, virtual memory. That's what I was thinking of. Virtual memory is a memory management technique that's implemented using hardware and software. It maps memory addresses used by a program into physical addresses in computer memory. Main storage, as seen by process or task, appears as contiguous address space. The operating system manages virtual address spaces and the assignment of real memory to virtual memory. Address translation hardware in the CPU, often referred to as memory management unit, automatically translates virtual address to physical addresses. The primary benefits may include freeing applications from having to manage, increasing security, and being able to conceptually use more memory than might physically be available. Using more memory than might be physically available using the technique of paging. So here this picture describes it. This is all the physical memory I have. And when I run out, let me put things that need to be stored in RAM. Let me just store them on my hard drive. Right? And the computer will be like, oh, okay, that's in memory, but really it's on the hard drive. It'll just take a whole hell of a long time to get it. So virtual memory is good because if you run out of RAM, you got someplace you could store stuff, but it's bad because pulling things from your hard drive takes a long time. So that's virtual memory. And that's what creating a swap space is, right? Creating a place where if we run out of RAM, we could store stuff. And so again, I don't know how necessary this is, particularly if you buy a good machine. But and by buy a good machine, I mean we had options where we could have gone up to like 16 gigabytes or something like that of RAM when we were choosing which machine we wanted to buy. So now I'm going to sudo allocate, and is that a 1? And the size, let's do, I don't know. My RAM, I think, was 4, so you do either your RAM or your, you do either the size of your RAM or double the size of your RAM. So I'm just going to do 4 gigabytes. And then it looks like /swap file. Sudo allocate -1 size 4 gigabytes /swap file. And let me bring this up and bring this over. 1 gig 512 recommended that restrict access. All right, let's see what happens. And it looks like I blew the command. Invalid option 1, so it must be an L. And the L is the length. That's what the L is. There we go. So like that. And size is something like this. And then we want to sudo change mod swap file to 600. So where is the swap file? And do we have a swap file there? I don't see a swap file. It's at root. So there's a swap file. You see it? And swap file is pretty big. Look at how big that is. How big is that? Is that 4 gigabytes?
Yeah, that's what you assign.
So what's a gigabyte? So 1 bit times 8 is a byte, times 1024 is a kilobyte, times 1024 is a what? Megabyte, times 1024 is a gigabyte. So that would be not equal to that. I was thinking we'd get the same answer. What is that value? It's 1, 2, 3. It doesn't like me being in there. How about up here? There we go. So it's 4,294,000,000. This one is 8 billion. Yeah, it almost looks like half. What did I leave out? Did I leave something out in the calculation? Or add one too many things in? That's bit, byte, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte. Oh, because I said it was 4 gigabytes. Isn't that what I said? It's 4 gigabytes? And so we want 4 of those. No. That one is the result. And we want 4 of these. I think that's just going to make us bigger.
That's 1 gigabyte, right?
That's 1 gigabyte. So now we've got 34. Anyhow, I'm not quite sure how I got that number. We got 34 gigabytes. If we did that. Well, that doesn't make sense. 34 million bits, sorry. Maybe these are kilobytes. Let me take the 8 out. Maybe those are bytes, I mean. Ah, look. I got it. I got it. These are bytes. These right here are bytes, not bits. Those are bytes. Isn't that cool, though? We just calculated it. I think that's cool. So now, I did that for a reason. So I'm going to show you something here. So now we're going to change the modification, the change mode. And we've got sudo right now. What is it? It's read write. What is that one? Read write is 6, right? This one is what for the group?
2.
4. 4, 2, 1. And this one is same, 4, right? So this is user, group, everyone else, everyone else, everyone else, right there. So we're going to change that, and we're going to do change mod, sudo change mod 600 swap file. So now if we do LSLA again, it's just RW. It's cool. And then we're going to do sudo make swap file. And so great. And we just made a swap, and it's for GIB. What's the difference between GIB and GB?
It's memory bytes, not storage bytes, right?
I don't know. GIB versus GB. Gigabyte. Gigabyte to gigabyte. Gigabyte is a multiple unit, multiple of the unit byte for digital information. Is a member of the disk. The prefix GIBI, symbol GI, represents multiplication by 10 to the 24 to the power of 3. 10 to the 24 by the power of 3. And gigabyte, GB, is defined as 10 to the power of 9. Right? So that's just, and 10 to the power of 9 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that would just be 1 gigabyte would be 9 zeros. So you could talk about like, hey, a megabyte. Sometimes I talk about memory representation. as a bit, 8 bits is a byte, 1,000 bytes is a kilobyte, 1,000 kilobytes is a megabyte, 1,000 megabytes is a gigabyte, right? I just use 1,000 and I throw away that 24. Because why is it 24? 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 5, 12, 1,024. So when we're dealing in binary, right, that's how we get to 1,024. But often it's just talking about megabyte, gigabyte.
I was reading that they usually use the 1,000 for storage and the, like hard drives, and then they use the 1024 for like solid state stuff like RAM, like memory.
Yeah, because you need a little bit less to get a gigabyte, right? Oh, it's a gigabyte. It's that much less.
I think it's an advertising thing. When they advertise hard drives for sale, they use the bigger number.
Yeah.
It makes it seem like there's more there.
Right. Right. So GB versus GIB. It's kind of good to be aware. But right here we're using GIB, right? So I just want you know, when I was going through this Daniel, I'm like, wait a minute, what's GIB? So it's, oh, did I just close my instructions?
Control Shift T. Opens it back
Control
up.
Shift T.
Keep pressing until you get to the page you were on.
Command Shift T. Command Shift T. Oh, holy cow, man. It opens up what you've been looking at.
Yeah, I'm just a Windows Control.
I don't know where the instructions went. Whatever, I'll just open them again. All right. So we just did, which one? Sudo make swap file. And then we need to do sudo swap on swap file. And it's not liking that for some reason. Like that. And then sudo sh. This is kind of a confusing one. I'm just going to copy it. I don't want to type all that. Lame. Hit backspace. All right, so what is this command?
Makes it load automatically.
Yeah, how do you know that?
That's it there.
All right, so what's this sh? Sudo sh, probably shell, C, I don't know, right? Echo, and we're printing something, and what we're printing is swap file, none, swap, SW00, and then the double arrows mean append it to this file. If there's one greater than sign, it'd be write it to the file. What file is it writing it to? Is the etc. fstab. I don't totally understand that one either. I guess we'll do it and then we'll look into it. So we just did it, and how do we get help? I just did man sh, and what did that give me? Name dash interpreter dash manual page. I'm just looking where if it says sh invocation. I don't quite know all the Linux terminal stuff super fluently. Anyhow, I'm going to exit. In, press H or Q to quit. There we go, I'm out. All right, so we got that, and then we're going to shut down the server. Sudo power off. And now we could make a snapshot. So we could go to DigitalOcean. Hey, it did open it back up. I just didn't click on it.
What does that mean, make a snapshot?
So I'm going to hit refresh here, and it'll go from active to off because I shut it down. Right, so it's off, and then I could come in here and I could do a snapshot, and I could say FCC class and take a snapshot. So now it's taking a snapshot, and now I could destroy this server, and then I could just come back to the snapshot and say create a server just like this, and it does all that for me. So that's just like taking a snapshot of our progress. So I'm going to stop this right here while this is running, and the next one will get Go running on our Linux machine.
So what if you did lock yourself out of the SSH?
Uh,
What do you have to do to get it back?
I don't know. I think destroy your server and start over.